Yesterday, one out of every 9 XRP that was available on the open market disappeared. We will discuss the current state of the XRP supply. Treasury firms such as ETFs and DATs are reducing the amount of money that is left on the OTC desk. After that, they arrive for the exchanges. I will provide you with all the information you require. In addition, I researched the DTCC and adequate liquidity information. I hope you enjoy the part at the conclusion of the film when I explore this topic, but let's get started. One out of every 9 XRP in circulation, or 6.5 billion, disappeared from exchanges in a single day yesterday. 50% of all major centralized exchanges are perfectly synchronized. This is the largest orchestrated XRP migration in cryptocurrency history, and it is not retail. There is a huge event taking on. Additionally, I am aware that you are staring at a number of numbers on this screen. I just wanted to put all these balances up, but I will make this easier. If you want to take a moment to read this in your free time, please do so. Here is another graph that is a little bit simpler to understand. Let's examine this one now. XRP exchange collapse or reshuffle. According to today's on-chain data, all of the main US exchanges had one of the most coordinated dips. Sorry, not just the US, but all major exchanges. This is what just took place. Huge outflows in every category. It's up here. Here are Bithumb minus 7.7 billion. Uphold, eToro, Bitbank, and Binance. 2.56 billion. 50% of each outflow indicates that XRP is vanishing at absurd rates. You really want to see this, don't you? If there isn't any XRP available on these exchanges, the price can only truly go in one direction. Thus, you want to see XRP being bought or removed. A market cap multiplier may be able to take advantage of those inflows and significantly increase the market capitalization as we begin to deplete that supply as it continues to decline. And many people are anticipating that. Similar to the domino theories and the Jake Clavers of the world, he is forecasting a huge market cap boom and an extremely limited supply of XRP. Yes, almost all of the big exchanges experienced a 50% balance loss, which may indicate widespread user withdrawals, a possible shift to self-custody, internal rebalancing, cold storage, or significant on-chain reshuffle occurrences. Therefore, any of these could be the cause. In a sense, you are the judge. Guys, it can be a little bit of everything. Naturally, it would be ideal if it were simply purchased open and moved to cold storage, self-custody, or anything similar. However, there is likely some reorganization occurring here between OTC desks and exchanges as well, because it's important to keep in mind that ETF providers purchase via OTC desks. Since the balances on those OTC desks are decreasing, the ETF providers now require more XRP. In order to purchase XRP, consumers must visit Binance, Bithumb, and other over-the-counter platforms that may have more of it. That is my understanding of this. Okay, thus the pricing does not reflect that, correct? This implies that it's taking place in the back channels, correct? To prevent pricing increases or decreases. If the supply continues to run out, you will eventually be unable to do that. Areas of brightness. Evernorth is up 13.336% because to a huge inflow of CoinCheck and 550 million XRP. OKX displays an odd address reclassification with a plus 10,000 increase. Perhaps OKX discovered some XRP. Oh guys, I have good news, they say. In a wallet we believed wasn't ours, we discovered $1 billion worth of XRP. Just picture attempting to explain that to your supervisor. Steep drops. Since February, Coinbase has been minus 99. Since February, the overall exchange value of XRP has decreased from 15.86 billion to 6.5 billion, with KuCoin, Paribu, and Swissberg all losing 100%. Here you have it. Earlier this year, there were roughly 16 billion XRP on exchanges. We are currently at 6.5 billion. Liquidity is going through a major transition. Pay attention to the flows and remain vigilant. On-chain is always truthful. Okay, so am I following this individual? Since he's working hard, let's just give him a follow along with Lissy or Toasty. Let's also follow Toasty. We can stay current that way. I now wish to learn more about whether this purchasing pattern continues as it is currently. Markets do, of course, fluctuate. People begin to believe that everything is possible. Where will we be in the next 12 to 24 months, though, if the demand continues? Together, let's investigate that. The supply of visible exchanges would be mostly depleted in 12 to 24 months at the current ETF accumulation rates. However, if spot trading continues to absorb 500 million to 1 billion XRP each month into ETFs, the total circulating supply would not run out because big off-exchange holders and Ripple's escrow can still feed the market at higher prices. Rather than a complete cessation of trading, the trend is towards a structural liquidity crunch and a significantly higher clearing price. Naturally, I thoroughly investigated if Ripple could begin to sell escrowed cryptocurrency to U.S. institutions. Isn't that impossible? Since Ripple owns Ripple Prime, I even wanted to investigate if the judge's ruling may enable Ripple Prime to begin doing that. They are unable to. Therefore, these exchanges may not be able to reach these OTC desks. They could not be able to visit Ripple to obtain this XRP if they are particularly in the United States. Now, if they owned a business outside of the US, that business could purchase from Ripple, right? It only contains businesses. There will probably be a shuffling of moves of some kind, and we'll let you know as soon as we have that information. Key numbers are currently in circulation. We discuss this a lot, After just 1 month, there are currently 339 million XRP in US spot XRP ETFs, or roughly 0.5% of the total amount in circulation. With roughly 644 million in net inflows and 676 million assets under management, it has been roughly 2.5 weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, this sums up what we're seeing at the moment. I'll keep you informed. Exchange balances are already rapidly declining. Binance's XRP reserves, for instance, are at multi-year lows of about 2.7 billion. Lows over several years. I'd love to see that. Additionally, analysts caution that a developing supply shortage is being caused by long-term accumulation and ETF demand. How long until there are no more exchanges? We did discuss this in passing. It would take 12 to 18 months before the supply is essentially depleted if we were to do a 500 million to 1 billion XRP per month continuity. It goes without saying that there are several situations that might occur sooner and significantly lower this. This number might decrease much more quickly if companies like Vanguard, Fidelity, or the BlackRocks of the world decided to sell XRP products. Additionally, if this number starts to drastically decline and there is less than 1 billion XRP remaining on exchanges, you will receive a much higher price, which would prevent you from purchasing as much XRP. The asset would also become much more liquid, and I believe that many people would feel much better when looking at their portfolio of XRPs at $20, $30, $40, or something similar. Believe there would be a lot of excitement. And this is the kind of situation where XRP may suddenly increase by $90 or $100. That has been observed on Kraken and a few other exchanges. Therefore, don't claim that it isn't feasible. There's a lot going on right now, and it's never been this hectic, so I've never been more eager to get up and come record content. Okay, next, where does XRP originate from? Additional XRP must essentially lure long-term retail and whale holders, including those who self-custody on ledgers, etc., to the market once the simple exchange inventory is largely depleted at current rates. These holders will only part with their coins at far higher price levels. Therefore, someone will need to sell. I get back to this, don't I? Where are these organizations that own a lot more XRP than individual traders going to sell, right? You have $50 billion if you have 1 billion XRP, and that XRP is worth $50. Will you wait for 500 or 1,000, as if that's what you're going to encounter? Additionally, certain institutions or exchanges recognize that this is a long-term endeavor. Holding XRP for a year or two is not something we are considering. We intend to store XRP for 20 or 30 years, correct? They are aware that its value will increase in tandem with the industry's growth. Retail traders will, in my opinion, be the ones who lose out the most from this.